Yeah, so we're in this, we're in the worldly winds for a while. Yeah, the worldly winds, yeah. And we're in gain and loss, another pair. I want to talk about gain, the the challenging side of gain, uh, the challenging side of gain. Hmm. You know, even in Buddhist psychology, in the lay life, there's some encouragement. There is some encouragement to move in the direction of a life of integrity. I love the word move in the direction of blamelessness, or one will, behaving in accord, with precepts, with integrity, with upstanding, and to cultivate, to create a life, to create a life, to build, and to create a family if that's your calling, and to create a livelihood, yeah, to create a livelihood and to enjoy the fruit of that, to come to be satisfied with that, to come to be satisfied with what has been cultivated. Yeah, yeah. There's not an emphasis on turning away from, you shouldn't feel content. No, to cultivate contentment in what's been cultivated. Yeah. Mm, yeah. And in our culture, I believe that this is complicated in our culture, because it's a competitive consumer culture, a culture where we're more likely to find ourselves comparing ourselves, with our own expectations of ourselves, and comparing ourselves with others. And who has what, and where do I fit in? And where am I in the hierarchy of things? And is it enough? Have I done enough? Will I ever be enough? Yep. Now, kind of, I was struck by what David said yesterday about this person we worked with, who was a millionaire, who needed to have a certain amount of money. I've worked with a couple millionaires, and something similar. There's one person in particular who said that his goal was to have $2 million. And I worked with him for a while, and he accomplished it. He got to $2 million. And he said, funny thing is, I don't know, 5 million really is starting to feel right. I mean, I feel like I'll really be able to rest if I have 5 million. And also, when there was like a little bad run in the stock market, and he would actually go down, his net worth would go down from, say, 3 million to 2.8 million. He'd start to get a little panicky, a little anxious. Oh, what if I lose everything that I've accumulated? Do you know? Yeah. So there is that tendency in us, and it's just one more thing to pay attention to. And see how it is for you. We can look out at something like that and go, "Oh, isn't that crazy?" Imagine that. But how is it for us? How is it for us? In terms of our contentment with and focus upon what we do have, what we have cultivated, how we do love, how we did love today, rather than the thing that we didn't say today that went quite right, or the thing that we should have done. Do you know what I mean? It's a figure ground thing. You know, how much do we rest in our intention, in what has been accomplished, versus looking around. We have a friend who's writing a book, actually, on what he calls a narcissistic recalibration. Yeah, narcissistic recalibration goes like this: I always wanted to get to this point in my life, say in my career and somewhere. Let's take it away from just strictly monetary. I wanted to get to this point in my organization, in my career, etc. Uh, in this place of teaching workshops. His thing is teaching workshops. One of his things. And he said, it's kind of like this. I got to that point, and then it was like, hey, how can this other person who's also teaching at the conference is getting paid more than me? I mean, a while ago, just being able to teach at this conference was going to be that was it. That's what I was going for. That was the kind of the goal that I'd set up. And here I am. And now it's not enough anymore because, Jack Cornfield's getting paid more than me or whatever it would be. Do you know what I mean? And that sense of, and that part of the mind, and we all have it, and that's the thing that is, oh, yeah, it's all good, but when I have a little bit more, either when I have, it can even be a meditation. When I have more good meditation, whatever we mean by that. When I'm more generous, when I'm more patient, then I'll be happy. Then I'll be able to rest. When my kids are totally happy, then I'll be happy. Like that's ever going to happen. When, the endless dimension of almost, but let me focus on what isn't quite right, isn't quite enough on any axis, any of the ways that we, right? Let's focus more on that than on here we are. When will we start sending those messages to ourselves and whispering into our own ear that we're enough? That we have enough. That it doesn't have to be tremendous voluntary simplicity, but when will that will just emphasize more, soak into the contentment aspect, right? The world's gone crazy this way. One of my favorite baseball players, oh, he's going to another team because the team that he's been with, the team I happen to love, is only going to give him $13 million this year. This is somebody who grew up essentially in poverty, right? Who's playing a boys' game. He's only getting $13 million and he feels disrespected because another team is going to give him $15 million this year. I mean, we can look at those examples and go, what the heck is going on? What's going on out there? What's going on in this culture that drives that, that's driving that, right? Okay. But then let me look at myself and see the small ways that, look, I'm in this too. I look around too. Right? Where am I focusing? Where am I focusing? Susan and I remind ourselves all the time, every day, to focus on the enoughness, the fullness, the richness. Yeah? Yeah. Do we all do that? I think in part of the worldly winds, it's not suggesting that part of us isn't there because we are social and hierarchy beings. That is part of what comes with being a social being. We want to know where we fit in. We want to know how we fit in. It's just that in our culture fuels this consumer society. Capitalism fuels this. I fit in here, but I want. And it can lead to more of that sense of discontent, that internal discontent, which is dukkha. Which is dukkha. Yeah. So it's not that doesn't come up. It's a question of how much time do we spend in that space of either feeling that I'm not enough internally, that I'm not enough in the world, in my community, and my sense of purpose, and how I love, and how I'm, how much do we focus on that versus, it's a pretty good day. We woke up today. Everything seems to still be working today. There's enough food today. Yeah, there are blessings around. Yeah, I'm in a safe place, etc. So again, it's that figure ground for us. The reminder to drop in, either Susan will remind us, into gratitude practice late at night, or just throughout the day. Glass half full, right? Rather than glass half empty. right? Glass half full. Yeah. Mm. Is that wonderful? I saw it on a T-shirt one time. It really captures in a poignant way, something about our culture. The one who has the most toys when he dies wins. You know, but there is that. It's embedded in our culture. To some extent, it's there in our psyches as well. And the Dharma, part of what the Dharma will invite us to do, is to focus a bit more on the contentment aspect, on the fullness aspect, wherever we happen to be now. If not now, when? When will we start reminding ourselves of the enoughness of our lives and of our blessings, If we don't start now, it's a practice, like all these things. So it's a good idea, but it's a practice, It's one of the things that we practice. Not perfectly, but we practice it, and we remind you to consider that as part of your practice. Yeah.